why is this such a roadblock?
Hey-o!
Why have we spent an hour discussing this? Especially, you say you care about the students, but half of you are not sure what gender is, especially transgender. I know the lawyer said transsexual earlier. That's not the correct term. It's transgender. I'm a transgender woman. My pronouns are she, her, and I will only accept those pronouns. I will not be addressed any other way. And in the workspace,
okay. What else do you say to a guy like that? Just, okay, dude, sure. We're going to get you some help, some nourishment in case, well, it doesn't look like you need nourishment. We're going to get you some psychiatric help and hopefully send you on your way, and best of luck, pal. I don't even know what's going on here necessarily. This is in Oshkosh, I want to say Wisconsin, talking about, I wish I had the full context of this, because I'm not entirely sure what this person is talking about, except for the fact that, well, the appearance is, there's a lot of material to work with there. But I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of making fun of people's appearances just for the sake of making fun of people's appearances, but, you know, the purple half-shaved side pony is a choice, and I don't know necessarily a good one. And the entitlement of, well, I get to choose how you see me, in complete opposition to reality and what people are seeing with their own eyes and hearing with their own ears, it's a whole different thing in and of itself. Let's go on if we must.
I'm protected by that. Our students should be too, especially when they're not over 18, don't have a voice. Okay.
Sorry. I realized I let that play for like 5 seconds before jumping back in, but he's talking about protecting students. I say this a lot about the people that are in the mindset that unfortunately this person is in. Nobody, when it comes to protecting people, but kids specifically, nobody who loves a person, or in this case a child, or cares about that child and wants them to succeed in the future, wants them to be this. And that's not to say, I'm not trying to be overly critical necessarily, but at the end of the day, so many people in this lane talk about, well, we're wanting to protect kids from the ideas that could harm them, that there are only two genders, that they can't be whatever they want to be, which in their opinion is outside of the realm of possibility. Look, that is the very thing that a lot of us who care about children and just people in general want to protect them from. If there's anything to protect kids from, Elon Musk calls it the woke mind virus, and that's probably a pretty accurate description of what's going on here. And I can get into the physicality. I can get into the fact that if there was a lineup of people, just from a looks perspective, if I was to pick out of a lineup which one I needed to protect my kid against the most, I'm going to go with this guy over here. But I think this is a much deeper thing. I say this so often. The idea of accuse your opponents of that which you are doing. But it makes sense in this scenario. He's talking about, well, we need to protect our kids because they don't have a voice. No, dude, you're the one we need to protect them from. And this idea that reality is not real, truth is not real, that you can be something that you are not. It's just not factually true. And if we need to protect our kids from anything, it's the idea that objective reality is false, which is what this guy is pushing. Everything is relative. Anything is whatever you want it to be. No. That will lead you down some terrible rabbit holes, not just in the gender department, but just in life in general. If you can't discern truth and reality from make-believe delusion, you're going to have problems in life. And again, this goes for a much broader spectrum of problems that you could have, but specifically in this instance, this person being whatever he thinks he wants to be, you're gonna have issues if you can't acknowledge reality and how it exists. Wow, that got a little bit deeper than I think I was intending to for this, but play on.
So I'm just imploring you to go beyond what, just really consider, what is this fight really about? Why is it such entrenched? I know we hear a lot about religious liberty, and quite honestly, I grew up in Christian education all through college. I don't remember any of my doctrinal classes mentioning only male and female, and that's the way it should be. If you feel it is, awesome, good.
Hold on, wait. This guy's a doctorate from a Christian universities? But then this isn't an argument, right? Claiming that you've made a good point because somebody didn't go through / bring up the clearly obvious is not a good argument. Right? Nobody in your doctoral classes probably said, well, if you drop an apple from a tree, it falls to the ground. Yeah, the theory of Newtonian physics, gravity has been around for a very long time. We all understand that. It's all obvious to everybody. It doesn't need to continually be inserted into the systems of education, especially at that high of a level. I don't think higher education needs to have whatever this guy wants in it in terms of, well, man is a woman and a woman is, a man is a man and a woman is a woman and man can't be woman. Yeah, everybody knows. It's pretty obvious. So to make the case that, well, this is nowhere in my doctoral learning did I learn about this specifically, yeah, they also probably didn't teach you that water is wet. Or that the sky is blue. Some things are just obvious. Do we have to keep going?
You get to believe that. You don't get to impose those beliefs on anybody else. And that's actually what religious liberty is that your right to believe that is protected, but the other person that identifies as something else is also is right to be protected. So I guess I'm here to say is, with Oshkosh Pride, we're paying attention.
I don't think we need to watch the rest of it. That's the last point I think I want to make on this. Maybe it is up to the conservative people who are talking about this to reiterate the case that boundaries exist. And maybe that's where we have to start. And I've said this a couple times before, but you have to start with the idea that there are parameters. And that's what I think a lot of these people don't quite understand. Everything is a slippery slope, right? Everything. If you go down one rabbit hole, there's a potential that you'll fall even deeper and deeper and deeper into it. And the idea behind parameters is to set up guidelines to which, okay, well, you can't go that far down because it is a slippery slope effectively. And so when this guy talks about, well, it's your religious freedom versus my religious freedom to believe whatever it is that I am, okay, but as a society, you have to set parameters. And maybe because we have such a difficult time identifying where the parameters are, because people like this, I would assume, don't believe parameters exist, maybe we have to start with the idea that there are lines that can't be crossed. And I know this guy believes that, so maybe it should be reiterating the fact that there are lines that can't be crossed. If part of my religion is something that society has all agreed upon is abhorrent, I don't get to do that. And so we're not necessarily making the argument here about where the guideline is, but I would imagine this guy would agree that, yeah, there are things that are out of bounds that religious freedom doesn't protect you from. It's like, okay, good. So we have a baseline of understanding that there are limits. Now we can discuss where those limits are. But the problem that I think a lot of progressives and leftists have with any sort of parameters is that they exist at all. I get called a fascist all the time. I tour around the country with Charlie Kirk, who gets called fascist all the time. And at one point, I really wanted to dig in. Okay, what do you guys mean by that? And what I found by talking to people and reading, several different learned individuals on this particular topic is that they call people fascists who promote any sort of boundary to the extent that the other people, the quote-unquote anti-fascists, want to exist. In other words, if you have any rules whatsoever to those people, you are a quote-unquote a fascist. And so maybe we need to establish or reestablish the baseline that guidelines, parameters, lines in general do exist. And if you can't cross those lines, okay, well, fine. At least we have an understanding that those lines exist. And then maybe we can continue working back towards, all right, where is the line? Because in situations like this, I think we are really dealing with a person and really an ideology and a thought process that doesn't allow for any parameters. And if we can get back to the point that boundaries exist, then maybe we can start to move them to the appropriate place. Obviously, my appropriate place would be way different than this guy's appropriate place, but maybe the goal should be to get him to believe that boundaries are real in hopes that we can move the boundaries more towards objective reality. And maybe that's where the argument and the conversation needs to start. Wow, that was way more, I don't know. I don't like anything that I say. I don't like calling anything that I say cerebral. But for lack of a better term, that was more cerebral than I thought we were going to get into with the half-shaved, purple-haired ponytail guy-woman thing.